Found you. Howdy folks, welcome to Five Nights at Freddy's 2, the movie. A bunch of you fantastic folks that enjoyed my FNAF movie rewrite, which by the way, what the fuck is this number? Asked for a write-up of FNAF the movie 2. So here it is. Hope you enjoy it. It took me an age to write, so thank you for your patience. Hope you've enjoyed the other content on my channel. Please watch the other stuff on my channel. Hi! Do not condone beating kids, but whilst I worked on this, so here we go. Opening the film, we are at a family show for a popular traveling kids show, Freddy and Friends. The boy sits starry-eyed at the sheer spectacle around him. In a moment of every kid's dream, a hand reaches out and the boy is pulled up on stage by the cast of characters to dance and sing with the colourful cast. The crowd cheers. The atmosphere around this boy ignites a fire in him that would set in motion his destiny to give to all those around him the same feeling of joy and satisfaction he felt in that moment. Meet, in his adolescence, William Afton. Through a sequence without dialogue told through visual storytelling, we watch as through his adolescence, William puts on shows for his family, to his friends, always featuring a yellow bear and a yellow rabbit. Into his teen years, he builds basic animatronic stage props for school players and always joins in with the stage bow. His animatronic work is amateur but functional. Amongst the applause, the joy of spectacle was one thing, but the feeling he had, we see it on his face. This level of gratification is intoxicating. Afton enters a science fair dressed as a yellow rabbit, sure that his bravado and charisma could win people over. His showpiece is a small pink cupcake he could remotely puppet. But again, his engineering is shoddy. The cupcake twitches and fails to operate fully. Across the hall, a young man with a fully functional animatronic head dressed in a familiar bear's exoskeleton named Ned Bear steals the show. Afton masks his anger, and after the show, we see Afton sitting alone, crowds of parents and kids ignoring him as they leave. He's approached by the young man who stole the show, who introduces himself. A cassette tape is stopped. A man takes a drag from a cigarette. He pauses a moment and leans forward through the haze of smoke to a microphone.
That's where we started. Where our dreams became possible, and I felt I'd finally found someone I could really invest in.
As the man keeps talking, we see Henry and William growing and working together, brainstorming technical ideas and business opportunities.
I knew, as I'm sure you did, it was never going to be anything but a turbulent ride. You were incredible in a way that I simply wasn't. You were infectious in all the best ways. Self-serving, egotistical, enigmatic. The perfect business partner.
This colourful partnership montage ends with Afton and Henry opening their first business venture, Fredbear's Family Diner.
And that, my dear friend, is how I failed you.
Henry sits working on a new piece of animatronic tech with springs, small cranks, and a bare-bones electrical kit, all sitting on a stripped endoskeleton mask. Looking through the window on his left out of his office, he sees Afton performing alongside Fredbear on stage to what sounds like a full house. Suddenly, the spring locks on the table snap shut in front of him, forcing his attention back to the table. William enters the office, helmet removed, smiling broadly.
Ah, damn.
It's a good thing those kids don't get too close to me. They smell like a gym locker in summer. Henry doesn't break away from his focus on the spring locks. Afton slides a small pink rabbit into vision.
Oh, Henry, you've been here for so long that I've almost forgotten what your delicate gentleman's touch feels like.
The rabbit caresses Henry's face.
That is shockingly similar to my wife.
You think I got her down?
I'm not going to answer that. Put that down. That's a prototype.
Prototype? It's a hand puppet.
Well, yes, for now, but in time, I'm hoping it's, more.
Oh, more. You're gonna give it
A gentle woman's touch.
Stop.
To keep you company in these long
I
hours.
said stop.
a quick question. Do you remember what the sun feels like? I mean, look at the time. I swear you've been locked in here since yesterday. I never see you leave. The clock shows 3:30. Henry shoots upright, panicking, and grabs his coat.
Shit. I gotta go. I'll be back.
Henry races to the nearby school where his daughter of 8 years old, Charlotte, sits on the steps with her head resting on her hands. She's not too happy to have been forgotten about for a half hour. Despite his apologies in the car, she is not taking anything. But Henry butters her up with a trip to Fredbear's to see Uncle Willie. Charlotte's face lights up. Later at night, Henry drops Charlotte off at her mother's house. Henry's ex-partner, Rebecca, scolds Henry for his repeat offenses and forgetting to be on time for his daughter, that he needs to stop working so much and put family first. It's hinted that this strain is what broke their relationship, but Henry's working on changing that. Back at Fredbear's, William is putting things away for the night and closing up shop with Henry. Special kid, that girl of yours.
Yeah, she's something.
Henry slumps his duffel bag down and leans over a work table. Trouble in paradise, huh? Henry looks at Afton upset. Look, man, she's got a point.
Come on, Will, I don't need a TED Talk.
No, I know, it's not that. It's just, kids keep us grounded, man. They rock. That girl of yours is so funny. She's creative. She's got so many ideas. You know why she tells me them all? It's because I listen. Just work a little less. We're getting older, man. You gotta start prioritizing things that matter. Our kids are our legacy. They'll remember us. You wanna be remembered? Henry lights a cigarette.
We're burning the candle at both ends, Will.
Henry looks at Afton's locker, which is full of energy drinks and nicotine patches.
But I might be onto something that can save us both.
Henry shows Afton a new work in progress. A hybrid costume that William can operate, but a suit that can operate independently when Afton needs a rest. A spring-lock costume. The new edition is a hit, giving Afton the stage to entertain the pizzeria and allow his son to be part of the show too, whilst Henry works in the background furthering the development of their animatronic characters. Afton still stalls and burns out, allowing the animatronic suit to take more stage time whilst he recovers in the back room. There's a commotion in the main hall of the pizzeria, and Afton turns a group of kids away from Fredbear's for harassing and bullying his son. We can establish earlier that these kids are a regular nuisance. Afton is confronted by Henry and he finds a half-empty liquor bottle in his locker. Drinking on the job is too far and Henry goes ballistic. Afton fights his corner about balancing work life, dream building life, and family life, but all the while, those same kids are back in the pizzeria. Through the earlier montage, perhaps we can include something about William trying to make his son love the animatronics and show the same way that William does, but clearly the son is a bit uncomfortable by it all. Afton's son is being bullied by that same group of kids, and as the kids grab Afton's son and lift him towards one of the animatronic's faces, Afton notices what's happening on the CCTV and quickly moves to intervene with the events. When with a violent crunch, Afton's son's head is crushed as a spring-lock mouth malfunctions and snaps shut. The world stands still. In hospital, Afton would remain by his son's bedside. The doctors tell William there's nothing that can be done for him, that he's beyond saving. He's not. He's just broken. And you have to fight. You have to come back. Afton looks to the doctors, who are clearly unhopeful. Afton rests his head against his son's. Whatever it takes. I promise. I will put you back together. Not once does Henry make an appearance. In the wake of the incident, Fredbear's is shut down, police tape across its doors and wooden plates barring its windows. But it's not empty inside. Afton becomes overcome with grief and spends endless nights studying the spring locks, convinced that they were tampered with. Henry eventually finds William working alone in a dark pizzeria hall with a head torch, surrounded by schematics and pictures. Afton shows Henry he's been sober for a week, and that he thinks the incident was no accident. Afton shows Henry that the spring-lock jaw should slowly slide on rails smoothly up and down, and in accordance with maintenance on the night of the accident, all was functional. But Afton shows Henry how even the slightest touch from a pencil slams the spring lock shut, breaking the pencil and locking the jaw tight. William tells Henry how he's going to look over the CCTV to see if he notices any strange behaviors around the animatronics, but instead of being met with enthusiasm, Henry looks on in worry. I need you to hear me out, Henry.
Willie, I'm worried about you. We all are.
And where were you? 9 days. 9 days. My boy lay there fighting for his life, and not once did you even drop by to see how he was doing, to see how I was doing. Everything I had was right here, and now it's gone. So don't pretend like you're worried. Don't pretend like you even care or understand, because I know you don't. Afton looks down at a newspaper on the table. Headlines read of a new pizzeria opening up, Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria, where family and fun come to life.
It was supposed to be a surprise. The franchise for us both to make our own. I'm sorry. You know how to find me.
As Henry leaves, William has already turned his back. That night, Henry is working in his garage on some new tech for the restaurant. We see him lock something securely in a drawer, but we don't see what it is. He fixes himself a drink and sits at his desk. He seems deeply troubled. He distracts himself with work, and as he works himself to exhaustion, he falls asleep at his desk. Henry has a nightmare from the perspective of a frightened child lost in a dark and locked down pizzeria. The child knocks over a gumball machine which breaks on impact. She hears footsteps rapidly approaching. She's pursued by the figure before hiding in a locker. The shape passes by the locker, and as it seems they are safe, the locker itself begins to shrink and cramp on the child. She looks forward to see glowing blue eyes looking at them as they are crushed. Henry wakes up to violent loud knocking at the door. It's the police, with Henry's separated partner. Henry's daughter is missing. The police have her last known whereabouts as Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, so ask Henry to turn over any CCTV footage they have from the previous day. Henry turns himself into work as the norm, bag of nerves and confusion, sitting in his office watching over the previous day's CCTV when there's a knock at the office door which draws Henry's attention. It's William. William produces a CCTV tape and uses the VCR player in the office to show Henry that a figure in black seemingly tampered with the animatronics the night of the incident backstage before showtime whilst the two were arguing. Henry is perplexed. He can't believe what he's looking at.
That's impossible.
What do you think the curtain on the stage is for, Knox? This guy avoids every camera except for two. This one and this one. The second camera shows a corridor leading to a fire exit where the figure seemingly plants a note by the door. Afton produces the note and shows Henry. It's a piece of parchment with the letter I written on it. Henry then produces a second piece of parchment, the letter K. He points to the CCTV behind him, his vision completely glazed over. Afton moves to the CCTV monitor to observe the same clad in black figure entering the backstage area of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza and pasting the parchment over the camera before all cameras go dark. William turns his parchment over to reveal a number, 3235. He takes Henry's parchment and turns it over. 1030. What the fuck is this? Henry looks over at the parchment, then up at the layout of numbers on the CCTV's time, currently reading 10:31:23:54 p.m. He rewinds the footage to 10:30:32:35, but there's nothing there. He scrubs the footage up until everything goes static. there's nothing there. On one camera, we see Henry working in his office, but by the main entrance is a very confused looking Charlotte. Very quickly after the footage goes to static, it cuts out with the rest of the footage. Henry becomes overwhelmed. Henry arranges to meet Afton tomorrow to discuss their next steps against this unknown figure. That night, Henry has a second nightmare, again from the perspective of a child. This should seem familiar, by the way, because this is the sequence that was at the beginning of the video, which plays out largely the same, except instead of VHS looking, it is just ethereal and weird looking and dreamy. I'm just not super brilliant at animating in Blender, so yeah, this basically is the sequence that runs. The dream sequence ends with the back room door opening. A long yellow arm grabs Henry by the throat and he wakes up. Henry waits at Freddy Fazbear's for Afton, but he doesn't show up. He tries calling him, but no joy from the landline. It's unlike Afton to be late for anything. And so, concerned as he already is, he goes looking for Afton at Fredbear's. Arriving at the restaurant, he discovers the door, which was locked and taped, now to be forced open, ajar with the tape ripped. Broken glass litters the floor. Henry calls out for William, but to no luck. Walking into the main room of the pizzeria, Henry finds Fredbear standing motionless. There's something inside his mouth, but from a distance it's too dark to tell what it is. Henry flashes a torch around the main room looking for any signs of William. The door in the corner of the room slips to the ground off its hinges. Henry casts his torch through the door. It's the back storage room with what remains of Henry and William's work, animatronic parts, spares, and, curiously enough, something missing. From behind Henry, he hears shuffling and quickly casts his torch back into the main room to notice Fredbear has gone. Confused, Henry casts his torch through the room one more time before approaching the show stage. Drawing the curtains apart, he flashes his torch across the stage. And as Henry looks on the stage, we see Fredbear is now standing just behind him. Without warning, the spring locks fail and crunch shut. Henry jumps back, flashing the light at Fredbear, noticing now what is stuck in his mouth. It appears to be a box. Henry forces the spring locks back open with what would appear to be relative ease, like he'd done it before, and relieves the box from the jaw. He sets the box down and opens it. He becomes overwhelmed with emotion when he looks inside at what it is. A photo of his daughter and William's tie, soured in blood, and finally, a third piece of parchment, the letter N written on it. He turns the parchment over and sees a new set of numbers, 24, 12. So there we go, part 1 of 2. What do the numbers mean? Where has Henry's daughter gone? Is Afton in danger? Well, season fans probably have the answers to a couple of those, but what is Henry hiding from William? There's plenty to tell in the second half of Five Nights at Freddy's, the movie 2. So, please, like the video if you did. As with the FNAF rewrite, I would love to hear your takes and creative ideas below. Things that you would do differently and things that you would maybe include that I didn't. I'll set to work on part 2 and look to release it if we can hit 500 subscribers. We are insanely close, so please, if you want to see the channel grow, share this and other videos I've made with your dad. Cheers gang, I'll catch you in the next one. Bye bye.